Thinking. Boom.
Boom.
It's live.
We're
Hello,
alive.
YouTube. How is everybody doing? Another 5-minute language chat. It's been a little while since we've had a guest on, but I'm really excited. We have a cool guest today, Paulino. Paulino, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for calling me cool.
So I met Paulino in LangFest a few days ago, and I went to his. So I don't remember if we chatted before your. Did we talk before your talk at all, or not really?
We might have interacted here and there with so many people going around. It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
I'm sure your audience already knows what LangFest is about, but it was, 330 people, 350 people walking around, all language geeks, enthusiasts, and polyglots, whatever, at Montreal, lovely city. So yeah, it's a conference. You come and go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, I went to his talk and I loved it. Basically, it's actually Paulino. I don't know if you noticed. I included a portion of it in my vlog, which is good to see. Good. So there's probably 30 to 60 seconds of it. But it was, in my opinion, it was one of my favorite sessions, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the way that you taught, and it kind of what it made me think about. And I don't want to go too far down this path, but I want to share this because I think you'll connect with it. It felt like a practical application of Dr. Krashen's talk of the comprehensive input.
You are right on the money, because that's exactly what it was. I didn't present it as such because we have to tell the audience you went to the Spanish workshop, and so we were not there to talk about methodological theory, but just to focus on Spanish. But what you saw and experienced a little bit is partially what we called TPRS, which is one of the methods develops having the theory of comprehensible input in mind. So what I did, it was a mixture of TPRS, which stands for teaching proficiency through reading and storytelling, and a little bit of theater games, but it's all connected to this idea of comprehensible input that was so prevalent at LangFest this year.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So I was like, and it was interesting for me. This is probably not going to make sense to most people watching, but I want to talk about it and share it anyway. But what was interesting for me was, so when I heard Dr. Krashen's talk, I was listening. I was like, this makes a lot of sense. It really does. Like I've been learning languages for a long time. I've been teaching for a little while now, and it really makes a lot of sense. And I hadn't decided if I hadn't decided what my exact stance was. I was like, you know what, this is great. And I'm trying to think of how it applies in some other situations. And then then I came to your talk and I was like, aha, that's interesting. So then I got to see it, at least elements of it in a practical setting. I thought, aha, interesting. And that, with both put together, really made an impression on me. So it was a good talk.
Yeah, and definitely that was an example of what you would see in a classroom situation. I'm a Spanish teacher in the classroom, but definitely comprehensible input doesn't have to be that way. That's just one way. Obviously, someone who is an independent learner can still do activities that are related to comprehensible input. So, well, thank you for coming to that presentation. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
For sure. So anyway, let's. I'm gonna start a timer here on my laptop here, and we can actually get this going. Timer and start. Okay. So Paulino, let's just kick things off here. Quick intro on you. Who are you? What are you all about? Introduce yourself.
My name is Paulino Brener. I'm originally from Argentina, but I live in the United States. And I've been here for more than 15 years teaching Spanish, and I'm also a performer. So I do theater also as well.
Mm-hmm. That I'm not surprised by. Nice. How long have you taught Spanish now?
More than 15 years. That's the reason I came to the United States to teach Spanish at a summer camp, actually. But now I do teach in a variety of places, in person, in schools, in a community college, adults, in schools as children, and I also teach online to adults.
Cool. And so talk to us a little bit more about like your teaching style and your let's say your perspective on, let's say, comprehensible input and how to apply that in classrooms. I think we spent a good chunk in the beginning talking about it, and I think most people will probably be like, what are they talking about?
What are they talking about? Well, Dr. Krashen talked about comprehensible input. The only one way to get language acquisition is when we are presented to an input, that is what we receive, either reading or listening, that we understand. Usually it's a little bit harder, so we're not bored by it, and it makes it work, but we understand, and it is compelling. It gives us pleasure or curiosity, so that our mind keeps working, so we get to learn it. And I started learning English when I was 6 because I wanted to copy my sisters, and I remember learning with tapes and a book, but the tape have a very interesting story of a circus, and it had songs. And me being the natural performer, I would sing around the house, I would imitate the character in the story. So all that became kind of immersive. I would take my time, and that was my English time. And that's how I grew up also learning the language. I mean, I was exposed to different teachers within methodologies, but I always looked for different stories, and learning about different cultures make me to ask questions to whenever I was at a festival. And I do apply all that into my teaching. One of the things that I believe as a teacher is that the best asset you can bring to the class, it's you. It's your authenticity. And of course, as a teacher, if you're working with a group, you need to know your content. You need to know some classroom management and prepare materials. But the main thing is you are there. It's not a video. It's not a text. You are there. And so I try to bring kind of the best parts of me. I'm a performer. I have high energy. I try to be engaged. I try movement, things that help people be awake, get their brains going, have some fun, and have an experience. And then out of that, people feel compelled to understand what's going on and to keep trying, and not just a boring lecture. We're going to go through the drill of a grammar. I mean, grammar has its place, but kind of the traditional mindset of, we're going to do this conjugation, repeat after me. So that's not my style. So that's.
So do you think that do you think that is the, I'll put this in quotations, but the best way to learn a language in your opinion, or do you think it really depends on the individual? Where's your stance on that?
You mean the style that you saw, if that's the best way?
Maybe not the style that you saw, but let's take the concept, or let's take this concept of comprehensible input, right? That the content you are absorbing is so compelling, so interesting, so fascinating that you start to absorb it in different ways. Do you think that whole thesis, that whole theory, that is the best way, or do you think it really is more individual? Do you think it does need more research? Where's your stance on that?
Oh, I am absolutely sure that it is the way to learn, but we have to remember it is the best way to learn. But we have to remember that comprehensible input is not a method. It's a theory that explains how do we acquire language. So it's not that you're going to get a recipe that says, this is comprehensible input, follow A, B, and C. Comprehensible input is a framework or theory that illustrates how people acquire language. There are many different ways that you can bring that input to life. As I mentioned, in class, I do storytelling, and I do theater games, and I do drawings. But you as a self-learner could find some text and audios, and could find different platforms that help you with understanding what you're working on, finding a story that you are really interested about, because that's going to compel you to continue learning. So I don't want people to get confused as comprehensible input as a recipe that you're going to follow and it's going to help you learning. It's a theory, a framework, and there are many ways to achieve it.
That is I've never thought about it in that frame of mind before. That's amazing. That's actually really, that's huge. I like that. I really like that, especially because I think it gives you, it's kind of like, I'm trying to think of a good analogy on the spot, but it's kind of like if it's kind of like saying, this is a weird one, but I'm going to go with it because I usually go improvisation. So this is what came to mind. What came to mind is, it's kind of like you're saying, oh, I'm going to be a really good person. But there's a lot of ways you can be a good person. it's a different way to think about it.
Definitely. You can, here's an analogy. A lot of people think eating healthy is good. Right? So you have this friend who's like, well, we know that eating healthy and doing exercises is good, but what is healthy for you and what is exercises for you might be different for me. So for me, exercises might be just going for the walk for a while and on the lake, but maybe for you it's lifting weights. So we know that the concept of eating healthy or having an active life, it's good. But how we approach it could be different for different people, for the different body types, for different tastes. So I think that's kind of a, hopefully, a similar analogy that people can wrap their mind around.
Nice. I like it. Well, we've gone over time. It's a thing that I do. Whenever I do 5-minute language chats, it's never exactly 5 minutes. But I think that I always have to end it because I always want to keep going. And I go, oh, you know what? I said it's 5 minutes. We'll cut it. But anyway. So I'll wrap it up there. Everyone, as per usual, all of Paulino's links are in the description, website, YouTube, Instagram, all of that stuff. So highly encourage you to check it out. And yeah, Paulino, muchas gracias. Muchísimas gracias.
De nada, gracias a ti.
Sí, que tengas un buen día, ¿ya?
Gracias.
Ciao, ciao, everyone. Bye-bye. Stop broadcast.